It's almost impossible to keep tabs on Donald Trump's daily attacks on democracy. But this morning, FBI Director Kash Patel announced that federal agents had arrested Milwaukee County Circuit Court Judge Hannah Dugan in connection with an immigration-related case. The arrest stems from an incident on April 18, during which Dugan is accused of interfering with Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents who were attempting to detain an individual present in her courtroom. Patel's post, which was later deleted, alleged that Dugan intentionally misdirected agents away from their target. Federal authorities charged Dugan with 2 felonies: obstructing or impeding an arrest and concealing a person to prevent their apprehension. She has since appeared before a U.S. District Court judge. According to the Washington Post, this marks the first known instance of the Trump regime prosecuting a local judicial official for allegedly interfering with federal immigration enforcement efforts. Right-wing media outlets in Wisconsin had amplified the story earlier in the week, focusing attention on Dugan's handling of the situation. Accounts from witnesses, as reported by the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, indicate that ICE agents were present to apprehend an immigrant involved in a case over which Dugan was presiding. Rather than allowing the agents to act during the proceedings, she reportedly instructed them to wait in a colleague's office. When the hearing ended, Dugan directed the individual to exit through a side door without notifying the agents, who later managed to detain the person in question. Some legal analysts have defended Dugan's conduct, suggesting she may have been trying to uphold courtroom decorum and ensure judicial proceedings were not disrupted. Laurie Levinson, a law professor and former federal prosecutor, urged caution against assuming guilt, while a former federal prosecutor added that courthouses should not become traps for individuals participating in legal proceedings. Throughout her legal career, Judge Dugan consistently advocated for disadvantaged individuals. In the 1990s, she represented clients cited for panhandling, arguing that prohibiting the practice infringed on constitutional rights. She also criticized a spike in minor citations, saying it fostered fear among low-income communities. Speaking to the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel in year 2000, she shared that her clients often felt too intimidated by law enforcement to seek justice. "We've seen more complaints about harassment and abuse," she said. Public officials voiced concerns following her arrest. Milwaukee Mayor Cavalier Johnson warned that such actions could deter participation in the legal system, ultimately undermining community safety. County Executive David Crowley echoed that sentiment, stating the judge deserved due process and suggesting the FBI may be using the case to send a political message. Crowds gathered outside the federal courthouse in Milwaukee in protest this afternoon. Demonstrators held signs reading "Hands off our judges," calling the arrest an assault on judicial independence. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has escalated his scrutiny of Democratic fundraising operations, issuing a presidential memorandum that calls for an investigation into alleged foreign contributions and questionable donations through online platforms, accusations that remain unverified. Yesterday, Trump directed the Attorney General to examine claims that online fundraising tools are being used to funnel illegal straw donations and foreign funds into U.S. political campaigns, actions that would violate federal law. The announcement appears to take direct aim at ActBlue, a major digital fundraising platform widely used by Democratic candidates and causes. Anticipating such a move, ActBlue's president and CEO, Regina Wallace-Jones, addressed supporters earlier this week, warning of a likely executive order and the chilling effect it could have on political engagement. "There is a coordinated effort to sow doubt in our democratic system," she wrote in an email. "This is just another iteration of the big lie. But nothing will stop us from empowering millions to participate in democracy." Trump's directive is part of a broader strategy that critics say is designed to hinder Democratic campaign infrastructure. According to the New York Times, this memo follows a pattern of partisan policy decisions intended to weaken the left's ability to fundraise and organize ahead of future elections. When I'm writing and preparing to record a video, Here on 5 Minute News, staying focused and getting into the zone is crucial, but it's not always easy. I used to try music playlists to listen to in the background, but I found myself getting more distracted than focused. Then someone introduced me to Brain FM's Focus Music, designed by scientists and musicians specifically to enhance concentration. I gave it a shot, and it worked surprisingly well. That's why I decided to partner with them as a sponsor. With Brain FM, I feel more productive. It's easier to start challenging tasks, and I can stay in deep focus without distractions. The Brain FM team received a National Science Foundation grant for their work related to ADHD, and the app includes a dedicated ADHD mode. They offer great sleep sounds too that I have even started using at night. Brain FM is the only focus music with real peer-reviewed research. It just works. You can try Brain FM completely free for 1 month. Just visit brain.fm/5 to get started. Despite the lack of concrete evidence, claims about ActBlue's alleged vulnerabilities have circulated widely in conservative circles. Elon Musk has repeatedly criticized the platform online, at one point suggesting something stinks about ActBlue. In his memo, Trump said ActBlue detected at least 22 significant fraud campaigns in recent years, about half of which originated abroad. He also noted that in a 30-day period in the 2020 election, the platform detected 237 donations from foreign IP addresses using prepaid cards. The president left out the fact that ActBlue took actions in response to those detections. It caught and rejected fraudulent donations and banned contributions made from foreign IP addresses using domestic prepaid cards. The GOP has its own online fundraising platform called WinRed, which faces many of the same fraud vulnerabilities as ActBlue. In a separate inquiry, House Administration Committee Chair Brian Steele requested documents related to ActBlue's donor screening processes. He noted that the platform had since revised its policies to block certain types of donations, such as those made with gift cards, which could be harder to trace. The intensified focus on ActBlue comes as Democrats gear up for upcoming elections and try to rebuild state-level strength. On the same day as Trump's memo, the Democratic National Committee revealed a new plan to bolster local party infrastructure through recurring financial support, prioritizing additional resources for traditionally Republican-leaning states. On Wednesday, Trump signed an executive order that would further weaken civil rights protections and make it more difficult for plaintiffs to prevail in discrimination cases in areas such as education, housing, healthcare, and public benefits. The order instructs federal agencies to stop enforcing laws and regulations based on disparate impact, a legal theory that identifies policies with discriminatory effects, even if they appear neutral. It also directs the Attorney General to revise or repeal any Title VI racial non-discrimination regulations that rely on this theory, and calls on agencies to review and possibly withdraw from ongoing cases or settlements involving disparate impact claims. The executive order is the latest in a series of attacks on civil rights by the Trump administration, which has increasingly weaponized anti-discrimination protections against the very people the laws were written to protect. The White House has repeatedly used civil rights laws to target diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts and transgender rights. On the same day that Trump signed the executive order challenging disparate impact liability, he signed an additional executive order that threatened the accreditation of universities that refused to capitulate to his racist, ableist, and transphobic policies. His regime also upended the Department of Justice's Civil Rights Division, which is tasked with enforcing anti-discrimination laws. In less than 100 days, the Trump regime has taken an axe to the very foundations of American democracy. His is a government ruled not by and for the people, but by and for one deeply flawed and unhappy, cruel man. I'm Anthony Davis. You can find me on the 5 Minute News YouTube channel and podcast, on Wednesdays co-hosting Uncovered, and on Sunday on The Weekend Show with Midas Touch.